First of all, I just want to apologize for the bad audio quality. I don't have a mic right now, so I'm just recording out of my laptop. So you'll hear some noise when I type on my keyboard. Right, so we're going to have a look at geolocation, one of the APIs that came with HTML5. And it's provided by the browser of your device. So right now I'm using the Chrome browser. And one thing that happened, well, it happened 2016 actually, you could say, is that now it's not okay to get someone's location anymore if you're not on a secure server or a domain that is encrypted. So right now, as you can see here in CodePen, I have added HTTPS : and double forward slashes. Now, not every domain has this possibility. So if you try it on your own and it doesn't work, it's because you don't have a certificate. I know that you can get it for free on one.com. You can also download and create your own certificate from let'sencrypt.org. However, you do have to have access to the actual server to be able to install it. And that might not be the case if you're using a host like Binero or something else. All right, so that's one thing that, well, you'll have to have it, otherwise it doesn't work. Geolocation is found within the window object, and you'll have to dig deeper inside the navigator. And inside navigator, you'll find geolocation. Geolocation has three different methods. It's getCurrentPosition, watchPosition, and clearWatch. So the two last one, watchPosition and clearWatch, well, they work together. But we'll get into those later on. Let's start with getCurrentPosition. All right, so getCurrentPosition has three arguments within this function. So you'll have to add a callback function for when it works, a callback for when it doesn't work, and some options in form of an object actually. So before I do that, I'm going to just encapsulate this inside of a function. Just so that it won't run just yet. And that's actually a good idea to make sure that you don't ask for the user's position without the understanding why. So in my case, I have a button called getPosition, so the user knows what happens when they click there and why. So that's a good idea anyway, to not just get prompted. You're sure you want to allow this website to get your position, so you might, well, why do I want that? So now they, of course, hopefully understand that when you click this and you get a question about if you want to allow it, then yeah. All right, so I'm going to get this inside of a function. I'm going to run this function. When I click the button here, I'm going to click get pos. All right, and I have some inputs here to add data. I have a div to put my error messages that I might have, and we'll get into that pretty soon. All right, so a callback function for success. When it actually works, you click allow and not block, and there's nothing else hindering you getting their current position. So I'm going to call my callback function handle data. So whatever data I get from this method, I'm going to run it with this callback function. If it doesn't work, I'm going to call it handle error. Okay. And then we can also, if we don't like the default options, we could also add in some options here. So I'm just going to type those first of all, options. I'm going to hide them inside this function so they don't have to be global. And you could either write them in object literal like this, or if you prefer creating using dot syntax, that works as well. Then you would just add a semicolon here and just say options dot, and then there's, well, let's continue here. Enable high accuracy. That's one of the options. And the default is set to false. And enable high accuracy makes use of the mobile phone's GPS. So if there's no GPS chip in the device that using this website, then it doesn't do anything. But if it's on a mobile phone, you can get higher accuracy, so better results. However, it might also drain the mobile if you have it on watchPosition. Later on, we'll have a look at that. And, well, it's going to use the GPS, and it's going to take some more battery from that user. All right, so I'm going to just stick with false. Since I'm on a laptop right now, we can't see any difference. Let's make sure we spell everything correct here. Options. Or you can call it whatever you want. Position options, even. You make the call, but there should be an object in here with properties. And the first property, enable high accuracy, and the second property is timeout. All right, so timeout could be anything from 0 to infinity and beyond. And that's infinity. I can't spell tonight here. Infinity. Almost correct there. Infinity, yes, that's the positive infinite number. All right, so either that or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 milliseconds. So this is the default. You can go on forever to try to get the position that I'm right now in. Or you can say like, well, you can try for 4 milliseconds, but after that you have to give up. The third property of the position object should be maximum age. Let's copy that. Maximum age. And that is also 0 or infinity. And the default here is 0. And what it means is for how long it should keep your current information. So if I set this for 10,000, for instance, that means 10 seconds. So within 10 seconds, you can use the cached version that we have, the cached information. I'm probably not moving that much within 10 seconds, so you can just use whatever we had. Or you set it to 0, and then it will never cache. It will always try to get new data of where you are right now. All right, so now that we have position options as well, let's create the callback functions, handle data and handle error. And of course, you can name these whatever you want to. You can name them yay and nay, whatever. To me, it makes more sense. So handle data. So we're going to get some data from here. So, and perhaps an error. So let's have functions named like that. Those functions can go, well, they could go in here, but I'll just add them outside. Okay, function. Let's copy paste so we don't get any errors. Handle data. All right, so when we click the button here and we allow the browser to get our position, getCurrentPosition will call this function, and it will also pass an object similar to this object, but it has different properties. So it's going to send this in to this function so we can deal with that object, because inside of that object is going to be the information that we want. So let's provide a variable for it so that we can find it. So I'm just going to call this one geodata. I'm really not into spelling here tonight. All right, function handle data geodata. All right. And well, there are a ton of things in here. And my plan here is to get them all into these fields here. So, but before we do that, let's just put something in the error box here, which is called error. Good word for that one. All right, so document dot query selector, and the CSS selector for that one is error with or pound sign. Okay, so that inner HTML should be a if we succeed, right? Let me get back to that one. And another function called handle error. And this one also gets passed an object called whatever you want it to be called, but I'm going to call mine error. And inside of that one, we can find, for instance, code, which will be 1, 2, or 3. Or we can use the message, which is a clear text message. It's a string that gets passed here that tells me what kind of error I have. So let's just say if it doesn't work, let's put that error message inside this div tag over here. All right, if I have done everything right, I should be able to click get position and get some sort of result in here. Timeout expired. All right. Well, it's not so strange. We have a very short timeout. We only have 4 milliseconds to get the position. So let's try that for 4 seconds. All right. One thing, I have already allowed this web page here. So if I want to clear it, I can do that. But right now, I'm just going to, well, it's going to say block or allow. I've already done it. So in case you get that question. All right, get position. Yay. It was fast. Not 4 milliseconds, but it was pretty fast. All right, so let's see what's inside of geodata. So let's go in here, and instead of putting that one inside of a div tag, let's just say console.log, and we'll log the entire object, geodata, and see what's in it. All right, so let's open this one up. So in here you can see there are, well, first of all, on the first level there are 2 properties, chords and timestamp. So we can use this. This is the number of milliseconds since 1st of January 1970. And inside of chords there are 7 properties. So whatever object we get back here, geodata dot timestamp will give you this. So you can figure out when we got this information. And you got chords. And chords dot accuracy is in meters how accurate this position is. So since I'm on a Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi, whatever you call it, it's not that accurate. If I had a cell phone, it would probably be a smaller number, more accurate. So this is within a radius of 62 meters. I'm somewhere in there. All right, another thing, when you're on a laptop, you will probably not get altitude, the number of meters above sea level, and of course not altitude accuracy. So that's null here. And if you're not moving around, which is pretty hard with a router stuck to your wall, you will also get null here. But if you're moving around with your cell phone, then you might get a number from 0 to 360, where 0 is north. All right, and same thing goes for speed. So you will not get anything in here if you're not moving around. All right, and then there's latitude and longitude, and this is where you are on planet Earth. A degree, well, it's a long number and indicating a degree in latitude and longitude. Well, we can use this with Google Maps, for instance. So we're going to get back to these later on. All right, so let's just see what we get. And well, maybe we don't need to do that. That's a lot of work. I can fast forward. I will just add this information to these boxes here using, well, query selector and the value of these form fields. All right, so we see that we got a timestamp, and we see we got an accuracy better this time, 36. No altitude accuracy or heading or speed, but we got the latitude and the longitude, and we didn't get it. All right, I've tried to clear my settings and see if I can get the position. All right, so here comes the question. Do you want to block or allow? Let's try block. Then I get the information that the user denied geolocation. All right, so that's why we didn't get the latitude and longitude. What if we remove HTTPS and let's just visit this page as if it were, well, as HTTP, unencrypted, get position, and it will say only secure origins are allowed. And there's a link to Google's information. So for this page to work, we need to have an HTTPS server, and of course the user needs to allow, and it remembered this, so let's clear that setting, reload the page, and get it. It's hopefully right. Allow. And then I get the latitude and longitude and accuracy and timestamp. And if you're on a cell phone, you can also get the other altitude, heading, and speed parameters. All right, so this is get current position. So let's see the difference. Well, I can explain it right away actually. Let's see what's the difference between get current position and watch position. Well, this is the only difference. I'm going to remove get current position here, and instead I'm going to type watch position. One thing more I need to do, because when I do this, it's just going to create a watch, and it's going to continue watch until you close the browser. So if you want to have the ability to stop looking at my position, then you should add this into a variable, because you're going to get back an ID. So let's just call it ID equals, well, you can call it whatever you want to, GeoID or something else, maybe like. All right, so we have a function for getPosition. Maybe we can call this one start watch. Okay, and then we need to have another function. Function stopwatch. And it's gonna say to clear this watching, so to speak. So window dot navigator dot geolocation clear watch, and the only argument that we're going to send in here is the geo ID. So copy that one. Oh, do you see the problem here? This one is declared inside of a function scope, so it will not be visible for this one. So let's declare it outside then, so that it's global before. Don't have to put anything in it. We're just gonna, well, we can say it's null if we want to. All right, so in here it gets something that we can use here. All right, and I need another button. So this one called start watch. And we have two buttons doing two different things and the JavaScript. So let's try if it works. Now you're not going to see any big difference here since I'm on a laptop, but we did get one here. Timestamp ends with 048. If I were to move my building a little bit, then it should realize that the position has changed. I don't think it matters if I move my laptop, maybe, probably not. But if you visit this CodePen on a mobile, then you should see these numbers changing as you move along. All right, I'm gonna stop the watch right now. But that's how you start and stop watching. So you can get the position. So it's gonna run the same function, but it's gonna run it as soon as you move. And if you stop, it's not gonna call for this function anymore, but as soon as you start moving again, it's gonna call this function continuously while you're moving. All right, so that's geolocation.